The burger is.
Oh, so the burger was apparently invented in Connecticut, and there's this little place downtown New Haven that sells steamed burgers, and because the first burger was steamed. I don't like them, but lots of people do, and you can buy it. Like you can go to a diner anywhere in Connecticut, and instead of getting a grilled or something on the fried burger, you get a steamed burger.
Do so at your own peril.
Is it wearing matching socks?
Yeah, we got the cool socks.
Perfect.
All right.
So I was, one thing that I was curious about is you have now been around the family for a few hours. What's different about, I mean, you are, I don't perceive you as being different than you were, except maybe more circumspect. I mean, you don't answer things quite as rapidly as you used to. But
I have word-finding problems. That's early dementia. It's not a change in personality.
That's Charlie Foster.
But that's, you're older.
So I don't see that many differences. I really don't. Obviously, there are a bunch of kids around, right? So, but the way you relate to each other looks exactly the same. I really, obviously Chris is from that first year, right? Chris is the big difference because he was a kid. John was still a kid, but was already had passed that early, that late childhood kind of phase. But I had, I don't know if you guys remember, but you took me in for another 5 weeks or so, a couple years later.
Right. When
you remember that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I came back to do an observership at Blodgett.
Right.
And stayed in the house for another month. So at that time, Chris was older, and John was older. John used to drive me to the hospital. You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, you used to drop me off at the hospital on your way to school.
That's awesome.
So those are the differences. But not much. Not much.
How much is it alike Christopher, is he?
I think he's more. I think he's more social than you, Chris. I think so. He's very social. He's very.
Chris was the forgotten fourth.
He wasn't. Although there may have been some years that, because you guys were so far apart.
Yeah.
I don't know what you and Dad had in your mind to have kids 4 years apart.
Yeah.
It's like you had a 21-year-old, 20-year-old in college, and an 8-year-old in third grade. And everything
That's
in
forever.
between. It's like you're always having headaches. It's like when one headache goes away, another one comes. And it's like
They got rid of the first two headaches quickly.
Well, I had 2 miscarriages, right? Between Ken and Jim, I had a miscarriage.
I didn't remember that.
And between John and Chris, I had a miscarriage.
I see.
And
So there were 6 boys. There would have been 6 boys.
Yeah, if Chris was
No, there would probably have been,
Was 4 years
bunched
apart
together
the
a little
attention?
more.
Yeah, and then between Jim and John, we were at that period of time. People were really ZPG, zero population growth, and we had to come to the conclusion of saying we're good parents, and we'd like to have another kid or two, or actually more than that. And we have to be sure that other people know that they don't have to have the kids. Because there was so much pressure on people who were our age to have kids, so that they were grandkids. There were just a lot of parental pressure. And so we said, we're good parents. I enjoy being home, despite all my things. and you know, and I had wanted to have at least 6 kids.
At least? Wow.
But the problem was that I had incontinent cervix. And so it was the choice of having C-sections from then on, or after Chris or not. So I said, time to quit. But yeah, I mean, we really enjoyed having family. It was just, well, you know, Dad enjoyed being God. When we
During
first get-
Pictionary, yeah.
Yeah, for Pictionary and whatever.
Yeah.
So, and we loved having you. Yeah. The way things worked out of your being with us, it was better than having not had you there.
So
Despite what you
Jim
thought.
was asking yesterday, and I didn't know. Well, you know, I had no idea the answer. I can give you the answer of why I came, but not you. So what was it that you guys were thinking when you decided to take in someone? Because you didn't even know who you were going to get, right?
Right. Well, we kind of,
Pictures. You can press them up.
we both had experiences with other nationalities, and our kids weren't really getting that in East Grand Rapids. And we just thought it would be a good thing to do. Dad had done that.
Yeah.
We enjoy people, but not social kinds of things. We really enjoy being a family. And for you, why did you come?
Why?
I mean,
Yeah.
you sent Alex ahead to make sure we were okay.
And now it was so the way it was. So I had decided that I wanted to have an exchange student experience. I thought, you know, my dad kind of talked me into it. Said it's going to be an important life experience. You're going to sort of become bilingual, so there's value to your life. It didn't really come as a proposal of, you know, getting to know a new culture. It didn't start from that. But it was always important. My brother and I always liked to learn about the world. And the reason why he came to visit was because he was, you know, traveling around the country and was going to be passing from Detroit to Chicago. And we had just been matched. And so I said, hey, you're going to be going by there, do you want to swing by? And you said sure, and he said sure, and he came and stayed, I think, for like an overnight with you.
Wasn't he with somebody else?
No, Chris Jones was there at the same time, because the pictures that he took had you and Chris Jones.
I remember Alex coming.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember Chris Jones was there. I didn't remember Alex was coming, and he was. I thought he was kind of, you know, like a surveillance.
Yeah, I kind of did too. And Ken, had you been to Ecuador before?
Before that,
Yeah.
I think that was part. I mean, I think that was part of the reason.
you got involved with
Yeah, we got it because Ken had an interesting experience. I wouldn't call it a super experience, but and I don't know. Yeah, I think that was part of it.
Yeah, and for me, it wound up being life changing. Right? It was, you know, it wound up having that primary role of exposing me to your country and making me bilingual, which had major sort of professional value. But spending that time gave me a sense that I actually liked this country. It wasn't just a place to go. And the experience with your family was very, you don't get to meet people who really take you in. And whether you, really took me in and loved me or not, I will never know. But let me tell you, the feeling was that I was really loved.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think one of the things you said the other night which I thought was interesting, is that Dad had, he was our dad, so the father-son relationship was set, but for you, it was a little bit different, because he wasn't your dad, so it was a little bit of a different bent on the relationship. You were older, you were already going to medical school, so he treated you more of like what?
So, it's different from where the relationship that one has with one's father, right? Is that, your father can and should be your friend, but there are lines to be set, because otherwise you can't parent well. Yeah. And in your parents' case, they didn't need to parent me. Right? They needed to make sure I was safe, I was not making terrible decisions, so keeping an eye on me. But they were not my parents, even though it became very natural for me. I think it was so natural to call you mom and dad because it was in English. Right? It wasn't in Portuguese.
True. That's right.
It wasn't in Portuguese. It would be very hard for me to call you.
That's interesting.
Mom and dad if it were in Portuguese, and so that part was easy. But then it's a relationship that's not as it's not a supervision and
I certainly need a supervision.
and the transmission of values are not really pushed.
Right.
They are presented. And you can take it or leave it, and you can reflect on it. And and your father really, he managed to, even though everybody thought he was like the most stern person around.
Right.
Your friends used to say, "Oh gosh, Dr. Palmer," right? He's like the stiffest, and I never saw that side.
Right.
It was always, and he would take time. You guys were often, in your rooms, and I was sitting with him in the evenings, right? Evenings in the TV room, when he was reading the New York Times or whatever, the Grand Rapids Press. Free Press is Detroit, right? And we were watching the news. And you guys were never around there because we were bored, right? Why would you be in the room when he's reading the New York Times?
That's right.
And I used to be there. And I probably was bugging him all the time, asking him one thing or another. And that way we bonded. And I was there, your father had really a mentoring. It was a very special relationship. I really miss him.
Yeah, we listen to Don.
Yeah.
It hurts. It makes me really happy that he was able to have that relationship with you, because it's just a different feel. He was able to be more friends-like. Mentor. You were just older. You're so much more mature than I was at that time. And you listened to him. You realized the opportunity to learn, and I wasn't quite there yet. I can see how it was. I'm sure it was very enjoyable for him. to have
Yeah,
you there.
yeah.
I really do. I mean, I think it
Oh,
was.
I know.
I think it was a huge asset for him to have. Yeah.
I remember hearing the conversation that your dad was kind of preparing you for his death. The last couple of days, 1 or 2 days, nothing more. And he said, "All of you are perfect, perfect." So that's from his heart. So that's how you do you.
No,
Perfect.
Well said, Ken.
And you were very, your manners were very appropriate and very, you were concerned when Ken was hospitalized that you should go someplace else to live.
I don't remember that. I was telling
Yes.
Jim.
Yeah.
I was telling Jim yesterday. I was giving that as an example of self-concerned late adolescence. What I remember is that because that was a major, it's a major family crisis. This is not a minor deal, right? And I do not remember me bringing my concern to you. What I remember is you and Dad sitting me down and saying, Aldo, you should not worry. We're not thinking about having you change family. And I was obviously thankful, but it kind of that's why I'm talking about the typical adolescent thinking. I was thinking, no, I never considered that.
right. Because you're so
In other words, I
narcissistic
couldn't
and-
even I didn't capture the magnitude of what was going on. Right? Probably because it's 18-year-olds don't.
And where you're coming from.
They're thinking about themselves. That's how things are.
Was that your?
So,
was that your?
so it's very different. Look, he has a completely
Right.
different
Yeah.
recollection than I do.
Yeah. Your recollection is that he was worried, concerned.
Yeah, my recollection is that you asked us if you.
And my recollection is that you brought it to me. Don't worry. It's not like It's not like I went. Should I? And it was my recollection is completely different.
Isn't
Is
that
that Aldo?
interesting?
You shouldn't.
So Aldo comes in and he's able to observe a family and Ken before he goes to his second year at Worcester, right? And all those observations was a couple weeks before we were dropping him off. We were at Cedar Point. We were going to Cedar Point and then dropping him off at Worcester, right? Because it's in Ohio. And all those interpretation was there. There was something a little bit off with Ken at that point. He was not. He was not sleeping.
Yeah, I remember.
He was
you
not sleeping very well,
Yeah.
and had a hoodie on, and probably was absorbed in his thoughts at that point. It was interesting
Do
just
you
to hear
remember that, Ken? Do you remember
Yeah,
going to
something like that.
In the camper.
But
In the camper,
The pop-up camper.
7 people in the top of the camper.
Really?
Yeah.
Party.
Oh my god!
I don't
I've got a
remember
good
the
idea.
size. How big was that camper? I
We went
really
from
don't
Cedar
remember.
Point to drop Ken off at Worcester with the camper.
Yeah.
That's why Ken couldn't sleep.
That's probably a better explanation.
Just looked just completely normal.
That was just that.
Do you remember going to Cedar Point? You do? Wow. Not much.
It was a regular thing we did, was to go to Cedar Point.
Yeah, so Jim is all surprised that he doesn't remember anything and that I remember everything. And the thing was like, it's like I said, it's a life-defining year. I remember, I can tell you the order of most things, true, because that had a major impact to my life.
Right.
In your life, it was, it was just another year.
I mean, it wasn't quite that, but it wasn't nearly as impactful. I mean, my four walls were all the same. You know, the year before and the year after you left. All the people.
The language was still the same.
Language still the same. The cast of characters I was hanging out with is still the same. You know, so yours just was changed so much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's much
that
more
was
indelible.
completely different. And by the way, I was not the one who changed his hair.
You were not the one who changed
Yeah,
it.
I assumed it was you who did that.
Yeah, who told him that he needed to change his hairstyle.
It must have been Chris
Glasses.
Jones.
And
It must have
get
been
rid
Chris
of
Jones.
glasses.
Oh, you.
Yeah,
It
me.
was not me.
Yeah, because I had a bowl cut.
Right.
I was somebody who told me I couldn't get anything
When
but
I
my bowl cut.
when I arrived, you already had the cool.
Yeah, it was Chris Jones then.
the
cool hair.
hair and
It was already
I was already
contacts.
cool.
You were
I was
already
super cool.
You were already pegging your jeans and putting bandanas on them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the
we
picture
used
back
to
then.
walk around and walking
Literally.
around with Walkmans.
Yeah.
With a Walkman.
Yeah, yellow walker.
Jamming out.
That was the coolest thing.
Absolutely.
Kids don't know what a Walkman is.
What?
When you know what a Walkman
Yeah, I know what a Walkman is. You play music with it.
when Sony canceled the Walkman like 5 years ago, I think. Can you believe they were still making it 5 years ago?
That's ridiculous.
And I think it was probably a Discman. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a cassette.
Right.
My kids were asking you, what the heck's a Walkman?
That was Brian Allen that was hanging out with them. Right.
Yeah, bro, you were good friends with Brian.
And John was good friends with Chris McCleary at that point.
Yeah.
Yes, you were.
Oh
Yeah.
And where did Chris Jones fit in? Was Chris Jones more hip than Brian Allen? I mean, it wouldn't have been Brian who told you you needed to get your hair.
No, it was Chris Jones. He was wearing a trench coat and he, you know,
Is that where that started?
he did some
French
other
toast
stuff
sound?
too that was kind of cool.
That coat, remember the gray coat that John had?
John had the gray one, I had the black one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trench coats.
You guys did trench coats?
yeah. Oh yeah.
That was after you.
They were massively weird. Worn out.
Well, that was pre-Columbine, so
Yeah,
walking
that's
around
true.
in trench coats wasn't
Wasn't a big deal.
as a big deal as it is now.
Is it a big deal now? Tell me what that means.
Oh, so Columbine, the first major, I think we can call Columbine the first real major
Yeah.
school shooting. And the kids went in trench coats. And so trench coats in high school has become kind of often a marker of not really coolness, but potentially dangerous behavior.
Potentially concealing a weapon.
Yeah.
Okay. That I had missed. Thank you. I wanted to get a handle on where things. It's just a little bit of your perspective, and so that's why John brought the stuff. And at lunch, it was we were going great guns, but this is thank you. I really appreciate you.
So you did say you wanted to share some information about getting older.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm finding that turning 80 has been I had always thought that, I was telling Aldo earlier, that I have always had this sense that turning 80, things with my life would be different, and I didn't have a clue what that meant, but I was kind of curious, you know, and I'm finding that, remember when people are surprised that I'm 80, and I think it's just because my hair is not very particular yet and whatever, but I'm with Ken doing so well in the apartment, and everybody grown up. I have a sense of freedom that I have not had for a long, well, I don't remember except in junior high, having a kind of freedom that I feel. It's really wonderful. It's just, you guys are taking good care of me. I really appreciate that. I really do. You're just, and I feel like I can bounce things off of you. And it's just really, I really appreciate who you are. And also I feel the same way about you. I mean, you are one of my kids. It's just a gift. So, but my body's falling apart, sort of. I discovered that my hearing is 40% of normal.
On both ears?
I think it's 40% on the left, and maybe it's 50% on the right. It's very, and so the reason.
So what the barometer to me is this: 40 and 50% left and right ear for an 80-year-old. Okay, so you're comparing you to a 12-year-old, your hearing is 40 or 50% decrease, but for an 80-year-old, how abnormal is that?
I don't know.
And what percent decay are we going to have until you're going to need hearing aids?
I'm going to get. I have already paid for them.
You already paid for them.
Yeah.
Really?
So I mean, I guess
we were having an easy conversation outside.
I just want you to be paused just a little bit before you've actually paid for them.
It's okay. It doesn't have possession. She can return them.
Because I mean, you can hear. You don't hear when I mumble things.
You don't want to hear it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if you want to hear.
But whenever
It's a strategy.
I haven't been able to understand what you guys are saying to each other for a long time.
Some of that is simply the way our generation talks quickly and the words that we use. I don't understand half of what my kids say to their friends.
That's true.
And a lot of hearing is based on words that you already know and understand. And if you are hearing things that you don't fully understand, then your brain doesn't fully recognize that you're just like, you don't know what that word is. You feel like you don't understand what was said, and maybe you feel like you're not hearing it. You're hearing it, but you're not understanding it. And those are two separate things.
I understand. I hear you and I understand you.
Did you go to Shapiro's office? Was it Shapiro, the audiologist there?
No, I did. I just went to Costco.
Right. So
You get a Midas. You go to Midas. You get a muffler.
Okay.
So right. So Mom, the hesitation is you went to a place that sells hearing aids and asked for advice on how.
Well, I tell you what.
It's okay.
God bless you, Mom. You are so proactive
And trusting.
That's wonderful. We need to go to Shapiro, and they have an audiologist there who actually does it.
Okay, I can do that too.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I can do that too, and I can return these. I mean, actually, I can.
Yeah.
But the deal is. The deal is that there will be. We'll see.
So minus Jim's reaction. The thing that really should. So I hear now why you were worried. You just sometimes the value of going to a place that evaluates you is that they'll give you a sample, because hearing aids are not really a free ride. They amplify the background quite a bit. So it may be that you can hear John better from there when John is whispering, but now you're hearing the bird outside, and it's really annoying.
And when Carrie laughs, it's going to be really
And, we'll just see. I really. What's happened this last 2 weeks? I have. It's been a mess in this area because there was a large group of physicians, primary care physicians, who went to Borges. and they had
To Bronson. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Go on.
who worked out of Borges and moved from Borges to Bronson. And in that process, the person who had been my primary care physician moved from having an office very close to our house and being there frequently, I don't know how many days a week, but anyway, and to moving quite a bit south of here and only coming in 2 days a week. So Jim has been helping me find a physician, and finally found, I really like the physician we found. She wanted me to get some tests. I've been getting those tests, and when I got that put in place, I just went ahead and got all this other stuff in place. I didn't ask about a hearings referral. I would be delighted to do that and see what the audiologist has to say. I'll show you the results of the testing that I have. And I hear what you're saying. It's one of those things that I would have to get used to and decide whether it's worth the hassle of the sorting out. The people I've talked to have found it. Larry and Sandra Gibbs both have said that it's been really helpful for them.
Mom, Larry's deaf.
Yeah.
It would be helpful to be able to hear.
God bless you.
I am blessed, very blessed. So, anyway, we'll see how all the pieces fall together. And I probably do some dumb thing, but that's okay.
Just fine.
It's not dumb. It's correct.
Yeah, it's proactive.
Correct, that's good.
Yeah, so, and it's just, I am really happy being 80. And I just want you, I really feel blessed.
Yeah. And I think you also are realizing that sometimes when you go to the doctor and they're talking quickly and they're giving you 15 different scenarios and permutations of what they could and couldn't do, you go to
Mary
Freebed for your knee brace, and they ask if you want an injection in your knee.
Well, and then
with an X-ray that's completely normal and there's no fluid and there's no pain. So it's what you're saying is that there are some times when it would be helpful to have Chris or me go with you to an appointment.
Yep.
Especially the first appointment with an orthopedic person.
Yeah. Yeah, and
we can do that.
The other thing at Mary Freebed, and I don't know how to interpret this, so I'll try to explain it to you. He had me walk and asked me about if I had numbness in my feet. Well, yeah, I have numbness at night every night in my feet and in my legs. And he said that he was wondering about a nerve interaction issue. And also about my balance, because my balance is not good. And I'm working on my balance with Mindset PT, which is where Carrie is, same building. And I don't know whether I should be concerned about my balance or not. I've noticed my balance is not as good now as it was, that it seems to be deteriorating. And that concerns me. And I've been noticing, I sort of said, I can solve this problem by working with a physical therapist. And talking to Dr. Merritt, he was suggesting an MRI. And I don't know whether I should have an MRI or not.
MRI or your neck? No.
Yeah. And so I'll listen to you and also?
No, I mean, he went there to go make sure that he was looking for your knee brace and just make sure that the knee was okay. They ended up wanting to do a knee tap and MRI of your brain and your neck. Let's just take a breath and
Yeah, I mean,
we'll have people evaluate you here for you to count too for your knee or your balance and things like that. Just a little closer. When you go to a place that's not your city, you go to a specialist, it's kind of an invitation for them to like order lots of tests.
Yeah.
You go to Midas, you get a muffler.
Yeah, right.
And if you go to a second opinion kind of thing, you're going from another town to another town as a second opinion, they're going to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right, Aldo?
Yeah, and there's nobody that comes to me for a second opinion that leaves without a muffler.
It's true. That's a good muffler, man.
And without Dan here, I mean, Larry is a wonderful guy. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better second husband. He is not decisive. And he also knows that Jim and Carrie are medical people. So but the only thing I'm really aware of was my ADD. He asked me if I'd been checked for that. But other than that, he doesn't say much about doctor and business. He tells me to come to you guys.
I like to mention something that concerns me. It bothers me that the recorder's on for this, but
We can turn the recorder off if you want.
sure,
Yeah, you
I
want to
should do that. Yeah.
Feel better?
Sure, no worries.
I blame John.
That's fine. I'll take it.
Please.
Aldo.